Well, it's August 19th. Somebody put that candy away.
Actually, cough drop.
While Frank is finishing his candy, we will it's the 20th of August 2014. This is the Earthmind think tank group, and look, Skype seems to have changed. There's this little row of people at the bottom there, and there's Frank in the middle. So, Frank, are you ready? Are you with us?
Yes, good morning. I'm very much with you. I've been having a wonderful time in exploring my own inner consciousness the last few days, having discovered at long last where the source of my information comes from. And in opening up to that, I've been almost non-stop studying the realization, self-realization that we are being contacted very directly by outer dimensional beings who have a great interest in our progression, our growth, and they are here to help us. And finally, I've opened a channel of communication to where I can better understand what that's all about, and it's a wonderful realization that we're not alone in this, that we do have some help. And it's certainly opening up a lot of doors and potentials to greater communication and possibility of everything that we can do and become here in the very near future. And the responsibility we have of doing everything we can to further our own growth of consciousness because of the way it contributes to the greater consciousness of the world. So, and it's kind of a must-do situation. We got one good shot at it, and before the opposition force, the destructive force, has the potential of taking us out. So with that said, I will have much more to communicate with you about in the near future here. And I know I was really out on the far planet when Susan called me to remind me of the show today, so I'm not too adequately prepared because I totally spaced it. So do any of you have any particular things you'd like to focus on or work toward this morning?
Well, why didn't you tell us about what you were doing out there, what you were learning?
Oh, we'll do that in the Sunday night show, because this is something for the greater extent of humanity that needs to know and gives us an approach now of greater self-realization, because we're people who listen to this show or this kind of information are being prompted, have been for a long period of time, to recognize who we are and what our potential is and what we have to do to get there. And what's revealing to me is a self-realization that work I've been doing for like 40 odd years has been steadily prompting me in information and knowing and growth of consciousness to seek out understanding not only of what my inner promptings were, but to what's happened outside of us already in history, and a greater understanding of the forces of negativity that have been with us, as I've said, for 26,000 years in this particular cycle of humanity's growth and evolution of consciousness. And it's all been very well prepared and patterned. And I had always thought that we were individuals of free consciousness, which we are. Every one of us is responsible for our own self-realization and self-determination of understanding how things work. And in my own growth of consciousness, I simply could not accept and adapt to the historic premise that we have been given.
Close the door,
and the way things have evolved in our societies and civilizations. It just didn't sound right to me. And now with these revelations coming through, I realize that we have been programmed by the opposition force to be a slave race, so to speak, and And the way is open to us simply through shift of consciousness to climb our way out of that programming for thousands of years and to find our individual right and appropriateness in this world of evolving consciousness. More importantly, for the first time, I'm beginning to see now where we're going with all this and the necessity of doing it. Because before it seemed like the information I would receive through my own inner perspective and introspection, so to speak, was guiding me along day by day by day by day, and each thing would add to what I've known before. And always, since I've become a teacher, something like 30 years ago, the healing work was, I always knew that even though I had these gifts and abilities, that the healing was to attract people to me so that I could open up their inner consciousness, the self-realization that every one of us are more, that we don't have to be subjected to the forces of domination that have detracted from our awareness for so long. And now, suddenly, it all appeared to me, I will confide this much to you, in the form of a little handbook that showed up right beside my meditation chair. It just appeared there, and when I opened that up and began to study it, I realized that it's a culmination of my entire life of introspection, that I was being fed this information systematically and consistently, and one thing adding on another of perception, to where it's all becoming very clear now. And with that comes understanding not only of who we've been or what we are now, but where we are going in the future. And that I will deliver to you in the appropriate time and place, and as it further evolves, because it is something that can't just be dropped in a pile and expect everybody to understand it. We have to grow into it. And many of you who have been sticking with me for this period of time, some way beyond simply the radio time, you are very ready for this, very well prepared. But the substance of it is, there's so much more to this than we realize, and it is requiring a shift of consciousness, a paradigm shift, to where we totally can let go of the old historic patterning and programming and look forward with great anticipation to who we are and what is coming. The process of learning about earth mind and how the physical consciousness works, and how we have three levels of cognitive perception, which the high self and undersoul, high soul and undersoul, feed information to the mid-soul of our conscious awareness. These perceptions, I was right on in all of that, and it has proven out in not only in what we experience and share, but in our growth of consciousness, in our gifts and abilities, and we are steadily progressing in moving in a very systematic method toward greater self-realization, not only individually but in the whole. And so that's what I look forward to, is being able to share that with you. And understanding earth mind and the delic forces of consciousness and nature in itself is a big factor in this. Without understanding our basic human nature, our animal nature, and our continuing evolution in the spiritual side, which is actually being fed to us by our galactic brothers who have come before and are leading us carefully along now in these stages of growth. As we bring this all together in a whole of understanding, it's just almost awe-inspiring as to what we are. And this recent breakthrough that I've experienced with Rachel in gaining the female goddess perspective, brings a great balance to everything we've been studying and understanding. But because the goddess is a critical part of the evolution of consciousness, because it brings back into perspective the feminine necessity of the feminine power and the God Force consciousness that focuses through her as the cradle of life. Man, the male side may be the inspirational life, and have the great dreams of evolving things that we can do, but it is the female that carries life forward and sustains the ongoing evolution of our growth of consciousness and who we are. So we will be bringing that to you very shortly in a greatly amplified way. Now, dropping back again, are there any requests for anything we should turn our attention to this morning?
Good morning, Frank. It's Teresa. I was reading recently that the coast of the North American continent is being adversely affected by the radiation. The animals, the sea life.
Come on, you're fucking brainwashed.
It's affecting as far north as the polar bears and all the way down the coastline. So I think we need to try to lift that energy and push it back.
That has come to my attention also. And the realization is that even though the appearance of it is quite severe, what might it have been had we not been doing our work in modifying the effect of this radiation? And so we will certainly put our attention on that today and every meeting we have. And another thing I'm going to introduce into our toolkit today is the goddess energy. We're going to come to the realization of how critically important that is to the very thing you're speaking about, which is the evolution and sustenance of nature out there, and the necessity of the feminine principle to be the balance of this overpowering male domination force that has overtaken the world and seeks to take us out, literally to keep us from evolving other than as a slave race. So with that said, let's go directly into our meditation so we can begin to learn our daily lessons here. Take your awareness up into your forehead now. And always in this, we take an intent into our meditation, because the intent that we garner through our midplane of consciousness of realization of what is important, what should be done to assist the world, that realization has to be formed into intent, and that intent, as we pull that into our indwelling soul, becomes a part, a whole of the group mind soul of which every human is. So even though we're a small group, the latitude that we can reach out and touch everyone around the world now is important, because it sets up a resonance of consciousness that brings the powers of manifestation into form and self-realization. So, first step is to step back out of the conscious reasoning mind into the soul center. And just feel that this sense of I am, that sense of I am, the self-realization that I am extends outward in that group mind consciousness field to the realization that we are. I am, you are, we are one. Feel that unification now, because this is the force and power that holds everything in form, is the indwelling soul, and its desire to experience physical reality as humans in this plane of consciousness we call the earth. As you relax your mind down, get out of the conscious reasoning brain into this expanded consciousness, you feel centered. You feel yourself become more powerful with the whole. Now take a step further back to the psychic center. The psychic center in the area of the pineal gland is that which connects us on the conscious reasoning level to everyone out there, so we can directly communicate through telepathy and resonance and clairsentience and the other psychic faculties. So connect through that grid now, just thinking of someone you know out there. Just put your point of attention on them, and instantly you feel yourself resonating with that person, because you are. To the degree that you can feel their feelings through clairsentience, through prompting, through your clairvoyant channels, you might have the ability to look out their eyes and see what they're doing. More importantly, the feeling of what they are experiencing becomes a part of you. It's like moving your awareness around through a fishbowl that's full of fish and selecting one individual out of that group consciousness and resonating with them for the moment. But now bring your awareness back in within yourself and move back a step deeper, back into the unconscious. And it's only unconscious because we're not working with it with the frontal lobes of our brain. It is very conscious. It is the consciousness reality of the subtle energy system that is utilized through the chakra system. And with that awareness and utilization, we can tune in not only to the consciousness of individuals like we did in those two frontal zones, but here we can attach to, communicate with every living creature on earth that has DNA. This is the subtle energy field of life that sustains us in all of our forms. So in that step back state now, expand your awareness down the spine, through the chakra system, which through the vibraports, you simply by putting your point of attention on anything out there, you can feel and resonate with it. And the importance of doing this is developing your psychic attunements, your ability to not only connect to, but to affect through your desire and will, the consciousness of everything and the experience of everything out there. And this is how the unconscious literally holds the world in form and allows the vast experiences of everything having DNA. It allows everything in its progression of nature to have an experiential moment of now. Now drop your awareness down to the heart center. This is the polarization point between high self and low self, high soul and low soul. This is the place where our mid-soul, our indwelling soul, has the opportunity to effect change in anything exterior to ourselves or interior to ourselves. The 0 point is the polarization point where the standing wave of manifestation collapses. And for that infinitesimal moment, nothing exists. In the moment of now when the wave collapses.
Do you hear that? That's the 0 point.
If nothing happens to change in this moment of now, through desire and will and intent, the structure and form of the past reality, it simply passes on as a standing wave from our past into our future, and continually recreates itself. That's what sustains life in its form of self-awareness of being an ongoing progressive experience. But in our group mind consciousness that we're realizing now, through this we can access and through choice, unified choice, have tremendous effect on all the systems of the world and of the greater planetary systems of our solar system. And we do this in response to what has come before in the galactic system, that is resonating the progression and evolution of consciousness to us as a pattern that we through choice can follow. But because of the free will and nature of our individualized choices, we get to create a new reality that is separate and unique to Earth, and that's what we're doing. Now drop your awareness down the spine and from the heart center, and you're in the low self now. This is the primitive nature of consciousness. This is what dictates the form that our genetic composition follows, that allows us to be uniquely human, and that also allows us to communicate with every other living thing having DNA out there. Gets through the vibraports. We are in resonance with all living things. This is the oneness that is the God Force consciousness, experiencing all things possible in all ways possible in this unique little environment of Earth. And now drop your awareness down from the root chakra, which is our most primitive level of consciousness reality, down into the earth mind consciousness of the female polarity, the negative polarity. That's in direct opposition to the male polarity over our mid-range of consciousness here. And these are the different chakra system, but through resonance, all three levels of this extended three-level chakra system of 36 chakras, 36 points of resonance, work in conjunction with each other through the male polarity and the female polarity to hold all the form of the middle polarity. But it is the 0 point and the center polarity where we make our choices that affects the next standing wave of time that the oversoul and the undersoul responds to, the continually manifest life and a progression of life. With that realization comes the understanding that we do not have to be subjective to everything that has been created for us by the opposition force and the domination force in the last 26,000 years. We can, by co-creatively creating a positive intent in the expression of everything in form, we can create a life, an evolution of consciousness in dominion rather than domination. And that is the point and purpose of everything we do in these meetings that we have now through World Spirit Radio, is to teach people about the power of dominion and the necessity of it to pull the world out of this destructing state, because domination is always self-destructing, because it pulls its energy laterally from everything else to sustain its form. When the truth is, by creating new standing waves, recreating the future with our positive reality, creating a positive expression, we can move out of that negative domination and into a new world reality, and that's what we're creating. But Earth Mind in itself, the Earth is a living consciousness. It does hold the form of everything that's happened in the past, anything of having DNA. And that past consciousness is held in the computer chip of silicon dioxide that is the crust of the Earth. 63% silicon dioxide in the crust of the Earth. It's a vast living computer chip that holds all experiences, all thought, all creative form, and everything of evolutionary nature. And that's the instinctive consciousness that feeds up through Earth Mind into the DNA through resonance of any living thing in the new generations of each species that comes along. It is the instinctive prompting that guides DNA in holding the form and reality of this wonderful thing we call life on Earth. And so, with that realization, we look at the pattern, the direction Earth has taken, and the fact that the realization that the human consciousness, the group mind consciousness, is such a powerful thing in its creative force because it has free choice. It's not subjective totally to the instinctive forms that are held in realization in Earth Mind. By free choice, we can be co-creators with the God force, and that's our point and purpose of being here in this lifetime, is how to create a new reality in dominion, and dominion being that state of consciousness where humans, just like it says in the first pages of the Bible, and this is a thing that's been known for thousands of years, humans shall have dominion over the land and the waters and all creatures that swim or fly or crawl and all things that grow upon the face of the earth. Dominion being that if earth is going to continue to evolve and grow, we have to be the caretakers and nurturers, the empowerers of life on earth, and not to be the dominators of earth that takes from what is available and destructs. And so that's what we're here to do. That's who we are. Alright. Now, in order to do this, we've created a model, a realization that we can work directly with the Devic forces of consciousness on earth. The Devic forms being anything that thought or intent or has brought into form. Even the necessities of living creatures who through their need, DNA responds by holding a form or altering a form in evolution. As we progress, we move from one age to another, and as our physical norms, our requirements changes because of environmental change, life has to adapt to it. And this is how it works. So that adaptation of life is held by the Devic force of consciousness, morphogenic fields of each living species that gathers the information that's happening in the now moment and stores it in Earth Mind as past moments and continues to grow and evolve in response to the environment, to whatever needs are necessary to express changes in the DNA to follow that response of life. And so this is where we work now, and we're working directly with the consciousness of Earth Mind itself, the Devic forces, to help bring Earth through this period of transition that's going through now, and the threat of destruction of our life forces here in the solar system. And so this is how we do it. We've created a golden grid around the Earth of energy. And because EarthMind has such an abundance of energy, we pull energy that's being released by the earthquakes and through volcanoes upward into a golden grid that surrounds the Earth as a protective shield around the Earth. And this acts as a deflector of solar flares and asteroids and things of that nature that could be destructive to us. And also we use this as a storehouse of consciousness that can reflect back down into humanity to change the thought, the foundation of societies to thinking in dominion rather than domination. And so in order to do this now, just take your awareness down your spines into EarthMind, and you just feel yourself settle in. And where you put your point of attention in EarthMind, you come directly into attunement with that. So we take our attention to Southern California and the earthquake grid there. There's always a plethora of small earthquakes building up and releasing energy. We release that buildup of stress between the shifting, moving land masses, particularly along the San Andreas Fault. We lift that upward, upper spines, through our crown chakra, through oversoul, into the ionosphere around the Earth, and you immediately feel yourself spread out and encompass Earth in our golden grid of energy. And our intent is what holds this grid in form. Just feel that for a moment. And take part of your attention back down into EarthMind again, and lift those energies upward, just trading them around the Earth in Southern California, up to San Diego, and northward to San Francisco. And there's a lot of stress building up in minor movement in the San Andreas Fault. We just see a string of minor earthquakes. And that is good because the land has to shift as the plates adjust and adapt. But we can use that energy that's released to our desire and will and intent. Now come on up through Sacramento in the Upper Valley, up to the Oregon line, and that's the corner of the San Juan de Fuca plate that becomes a subduction zone beneath the Cascade Mountains, creating the Cascade Mountains. There's a considerable amount of energy
line there. That's the noise.
That has in the past been released to lifting the Cascades and in ancient volcanoes releasing this excess energy. So we'll bring that energy upward through the ancient volcanoes all the way up through the Pacific Northwest. And allow that to continually release. And take our attention eastward now to the Yellowstone region. There's a lot of small earthquakes now in the northwest corner of Yellowstone. The region, the Old Faithful geyser. Lift that energy upward so it continues its phenomenal release of energy. But that energy now we can use and utilize a cauldron of heat, transmuting that into our golden grid. Energy is never lost, it simply changes form. Now we send our awareness down through the Rocky Mountains, all the way through Salt Lake, through Utah, out to Las Vegas. That subduction zone energy also. Lift that energy upward. Take your awareness back to California and the Sierra Nevada mountain range. Lift that upward. Back to the Pacific Northwest and up the coast to Canada and further north to Alaska. And the plethora of small earthquakes through south central Alaska. Now southward along the Aleutian Trench, all the way to Russia. Multiple volcanoes. To the Kamchatka Trench and southward to Japan. There seems to be a lessening of the intensity of earthquakes in this past few days all the way around the world, the Ring of Fire. And this gives us pause for thought. Because usually it indicates that Earth is shifting its consciousness itself in its action, interaction. And I'm listening now. The stress of human population. Things are happening in the human population. It's like a decision has been made where humans were at war in their philosophies and intent and how their energy was to be directed in creating, manifesting form. There seems to have been a shift away from the domination to dominion, and with dominion comes a relaxation on Earth itself by taking stress away that is reflected in the environmental reaction of the Earth. In Japan now, there's only one indication, and that's a couple hundred miles out in the ocean at the Japan Trench. However, we do know that there's a tremendous amount of energy being released from the reactors, radioactive energy, that is destructive to the environment. And so we can shift our attention away from, to our golden grid, away from the general human consciousness, shift this power and force now, because human consciousness is making the shift into dominion. We change and shift that energy from the Ring of Fire to the radioactivity that's polluting and destructing so many life forms in the Pacific Ocean and in the ring of countries around the ocean, around the Pacific. Open up our hearts now. Open up our heart to encompass the ocean. What we're doing is opening the 0 point within ourselves to the 0 point of Earth. The 0 point which holds the form of the physical manifestation of everything on Earth, and where from the negative side is coming the standing waves of radioactivity passing through the 0 point to continue to pollute the Pacific. In the 0 point of Earth itself now, we direct the intent to transmute the radioactivity as it's affecting everything in the Pacific Basin and around the world, to transmute that into, I'm almost having a heart attack, transmute that energy into a positive, beneficial love of, unconditional love of everything on Earth. You may feel your hands getting hot. We're using the energy of the galactic flow now, directed through the 0 point, through our hands. That's our body signal that we're transmuting the radioactivity into unconditional love, which is a beneficial life force for all the living creatures that are affected by the radioactivity. You feel a tremendous amount of stress in your heart, a heavy pressure. That is the need of all living creatures on Earth now, to have loving support of the God Force consciousness itself. We're bringing life back into the everything of DNA, shifting it away from the destructive force, neutralizing the radioactivity, and in the standing waves of the past of creatures that have already been broken down or mutated, bring them back into the desire and will of the God Force for all living things to experience life and the freedom of evolution in their natural and normal state. And we hold this until we feel the shift.
I just thought of why it probably got recorded when I was talking on the radio and I had my mic muted. You probably had your mic open.
More importantly, with our awareness in the ring of fire and the fact that energy is being stored, it's not being expressed as earthquakes and volcanoes. We use that potential energy
so make sure your mic is turned
in the Pacific Basin.
No, it doesn't matter now. I mean, after the show, when you go to the stellar group. As soon as you go to the stellar group, the mic is open. You got to shut it off.
Unconditional love force into life force.
Yeah, when you get to the stellar group after the show.
Support and nurture all living things of the basin.
The recording that I sent to them, that he bitched about.
Now we extend our awareness out to encompass the entire ring of fire.
When you log
all the way back around.
When they call you at the stellar group and you say answer the call.
The entire Pacific Rim.
Well, you might have been saying hello.
Pull that into our desire.
I'm just saying that's a possibility.
And around the belt that extends around the...
Remember, this time they will do that.
Mid-planes of all the continents on Earth where earthquakes occur. Pull all of that energy into this transmutation process. And we feel it coming back into stability. psychedelic forces to sustain. Continue this transmutation into life force, sustaining all the creatures affected in the Pacific and around the ring of fire, around the earth. And we bring our awareness back into the human condition, into the morphogenic field of all living humans that are going through this transition stage also from domination to dominion, as we have set it up in our preferences in our past meetings. We see the forces that are affecting the world financial structure. And we also direct unconditional love, life force into the choices and decisions of everyone involved in that process to bring about the new world reality. With an acceleration of the consciousness of all mankind, and we will be given exact instructions on how to do that in our future meetings. So we encourage everyone possible to listen and to add your energy to this transmutation process that's going on at the present time. Continue to pull your awareness together now in this expanded state of universal consciousness, designed love and peace and harmony to all the evolving beings who are moving out of the state of domination and into dominion. And just as I expressed earlier, now that we're being given more of the vision of what we can do, we have greater understanding of how to do it. And we'll be working toward that in our future meetings. Right now, just keep your systems open, pouring unconditional love through your cells, feeling your hands heat up as they resonate through the grid of consciousness we've created through this radio station, to all the people listening, radiating unconditional love into the financial structure, the educational structure, and into the forces of domination, taking those forces into the 0 point of earth mind, and transmuting the consciousness of these people into dominion. This is the right and proper state that humans should have evolved into had not the unnatural forces come into Earth 26,000 years ago to create domination. Now we feel a shift through our systems, the shift as Earth mind responds to our desire and will, bringing it, and it's almost like we're reminding Earth mind in the Akashic records of how Earth was before the domination force came in, and how it can be again. Through the power that Christ is in every living creature on Earth, we bring dominion back into consciousness, and with that we'll bring the evolution of consciousness required in educating people how to live and experience life in dominion. And this is happening spontaneously all over the earth at this time. There is a certain small percentage of the population that are being given these directives. They're distributing them in their own way, in their own manner. But the impetus is the same through all of us now. And everyone who is of a willing, open nature can assimilate and download these principles and apply them in their own reality to create a world of dominion where their lives will be structured in love, empowerment, sharing, giving, nurturing, seeing everyone else as an extension of themselves. And as you extend and give, so shall you receive. We're affecting a great shift of consciousness as we speak. The consciousness is shifting away from fear. Fear has been the dominant controlling factor of the domination forces. We're shifting away from fear to self-realization, bringing into everyone self-realization, the potential of taking your point of attention within to observe your own power, your own thoughts, in association with the group mind consciousness as it shifts and grows, bringing back your personal power. As we withdraw our personal power back into ourselves, that power that the domination force had subjugated and used to their own means is being destroyed.
Right on.
They cannot exist without our support.
Right on.
This will require a shift in our civilization, in the structure of how we think, and how we perceive, and how we make choices. It'll be a progressive growth, all for the betterment of all beings. In truth, we're shifting from being human beings to human beginnings. It's amazing to feel the shift in consciousness that's occurring right now simply through this directed morphogenic field of group mind consciousness through Wolf Spirit Radio. And I want to thank all of you for allowing this shift to occur. And now I want to bring in as the final gift the blessing to each one of you, the blessing of the feminine goddess energy. Open your hearts now. Rachel and I will radiate this gift that we received. The You feel your hearts opening up, a glow flowing around your hearts. Let that expand out through your entire system. That's the balance and harmony of the female principle that has been lacking in the choices that we've been under for 26,000 years. Feel the glow expanding beyond yourself now, out into the grid of consciousness that we've created around the world through the commonality of World Spirit Radio. And this is the power that will fuel the shift of consciousness, simply bringing the shift back into harmony and away from male domination. And let the power of the galactic flow come through your hands, through your back of your head, through the 0 point, out your hands. That's your body signals when you're tuned into the galactic flow. Let that empower, totally empower world consciousness now. And this will continue after we close. Let this wave flow around the world. Feel peace and love come back into the hearts and minds of all living humans. Humans becoming the more we practice this, the more powerful it will become as the domination force breaks down and is replaced by the love and peace and harmony that we're experiencing now. All right, DAP, is it our time to terminate?
Termination time. Thanks very much, Frank. Thanks very much, everybody. Okay, thanks so much, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, JP.
Thank you. Gary, get with me in a few minutes, okay? And we'll review what we've done.
Yeah.